All right, North Smithfield Town Council Special Meeting, June 30th, 2025. Madam Clerk, will you start us with prayer and pledge, please?
Thank you for bringing us together today in a spirit of generosity. May we honor one another by keeping an open mind. May we voice our truth and listen with an open heart. May we discern your will to unite in a fruitful outcome. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Here.
Mr. Christopherow.
Here.
Mrs. O'Hara. Here. Mr. Punchak.
Here.
Ms. Alves.
Here. Open forum pursuant to 42-46-6D, maximum 3 minutes per person. Anybody wish to speak? One more. Anyone wish to speak in open forum?
Come on, Paulette, you must have something to say.
Okay. All right, discussion by council vote or other action on setting tax rate for 2025/26.
Thank you.
No. You had a conflict. Thank you.
Thanks.
Just for clarification, when you're reviewing this, we're going to start this off, Jim, with the proposed rates that are shown. Those are actually the administrator's rates when I published the proposed rates.
Okay.
Okay.
So basically I did what I usually do. I gave 3 options. And I also, like Scott said, I put the proposed rates from the administrator's budget that was posted in the paper. On the top, it'll show you the median of the average, the median of the single-family home residential taxes. Do you want to look it over, or you want me to?
You can review it so everyone else can understand, can hear it.
Okay. So the first option, we have giving as much as I can, as much relief to residential as I could without going over the 150%. So it brings residential to $11.499 and commercial to 16.936. The second option is decreasing both residential and commercial the same percent. So they both go down 21%, bringing residential, excuse me, residential to 11.656, commercial to 16.117. The last option is keeping the commercial rate under 150% of the residential rate. So I got it to 141.7%. That brings the real estate to what was actually proposed in the paper, 11.6, and commercial to 16.413.
It's important to emphasize that these are based off of the median. Okay, not average, this is median, so it's the category where we have the most properties.
So the median house value is $384.15?
That's correct.
No, that was last year's.
Yeah, that's correct. The median last year was 380, the median this year is 441.4. It went up 30%.
Okay.
And just for my own knowledge, what is our current residential, commercial intangible rate?
Current residential is 14.447.
447 or 774?
447.
And commercial?
Wait a minute, the single family says,
774.
774.
That's my mistake. I typed it in wrong. I'm sorry about that.
So it is 774.
447.
No, it's 447.
Okay. And then commercial?
Commercial right now is $20.432. And tangible is 43.632.
Okay, so tangible wouldn't change.
No.
Also keep in mind too that as it relates to the reval, the assessed tangible properties went up $9 million. The $9 million is almost completely attributed to National Grid, Rhode Island Energy.
And does that depreciate year over year?
20 years, 20 years amortization schedule for the National Grid investments.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. Okay,
Yeah, in fact, they've got 2 large projects they're getting to launch now, and again in North Smithfield, that are currently before the PUC.
okay.
And you said the rates that were published are what? Because
The rates that I published was $11.60 for residential
yeah,
and $17.041 for commercial.
yep.
That was based on the administrator's budget, which is about $411,000 more than the expenditures in the approved budget.
And I'm sorry, I didn't type the commercial rate wrong. It was 14.774. I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
The residential.
The residential you meant?
We mean the residential?
Yes, sorry.
That's all right.
No, it's okay. And so, Scott, you said that, sorry, Town Administrator, you mentioned that your initial proposed rate for commercial was 1704.
That's correct.
So the rates that are noted here for commercial, that's a result of, obviously, the work that we did over the course of the last week.
Yeah, the rates he proposed, I can't,
Without the 150%.
yeah, and because you guys changed the levy,
Yeah, so the budget, the expenses went down over 400,000
Yeah.
from the administrative
yeah, so
disbursement.
that affects that
Right, okay.
proposed rate.
So in actuality, the option 3 is the option that I really was trying to focus on when I prepared the administrator's proposed rates, and it was reflective of the fact that 30% of the residential received a 30% bump on assessed values, where commercial did 20%. If we didn't make some kind of adjustment, that means more of the tax liability would fall on the residential ratepayers. So I tried to swing it over a little bit, but I didn't want to get 150% because that's a real bad message to our commercial base.
And I did put on how much it will decrease by each rate, but just know it's based on the median, like Scott said. It's not everyone will go down that much.
Right.
Some will go down less, some will go up.
So actually, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, because I'm speaking your language now. If you have a residential property and your property value increased by less than the 30%, which was the average in the town, effectively, the amount of money you'll be saving is going to go down. Vice versa, if your property's value increased more than the 30%, you're going to be paying less.
Okay,
In other words, the decreases will start to go down.
right.
But we had to base it off of everything. I think the average, if you use the average, there was a significant increase in the average value because average doesn't adjust for outliers. And there's some big outliers in town in terms of some very wealthy or expensive properties. I think farms off of Pound Hill Road, stuff like that.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Town Administrator. And then, One clarifying question, Jen, and I apologize if I'm not wording this correctly. I'm not,
It's okay.
you know, financially fluent in municipal finances, but between 1 and 3, so keeping the commercial tax rate under 150% of the residential tax rate, you have 141 here. So what does that 141 mean exactly? 141.7? That's the percentage. So we're at 141.7% for residential.
We're at 141.7% of residential.
Of residential,
Yeah.
so that's how close the commercial is to the residential.
That's correct.
So for number 1, how close are we to the
150.
we're at 150?
That's max.
It,
Okay,
it's like 149.7.
okay, so we're pretty
It's
close.
on it.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And again, the purpose of this was just simply to give you a sense of range here
Mhm.
as you end up making your final decisions.
Okay, thank you.
Also, every year I compare, Barberville actually uses us and I use Barberville. Their current rate right now for 2025 is 11.9. Tangible is 14. They don't have a commercial rate, and their tangible is 14.39. But her residential rate went down $3.08. $3.08. And then the whole town overall, they went down up 28%. We went up 27. So we're in line with Barberville.
Went up more than us though, correct? Last time I knew they were at 32%. Did that end up coming down?
For single family homes.
Single family, yeah.
No, it's still at 32, but overall,
Okay.
they're at 28.
All right, so their residential went up more than ours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why wouldn't the tangible change?
Because of the law that passed, I believe 2 years ago now, basically, the rate cannot increase over $43 and whatever it was as of December 31st, 2022, I believe. It can't increase because they're giving them an exemption of $50,000 of assets. So say your business is $90,000 in assets, you only pay taxes on the 40,000. The other 50 is exempt.
And then we can't tax you at a rate of more than 43.
Yep. Unless we fight,
Interesting.
like the
Well,
whole assessors
While you're standing
association.
up there, why haven't we enforced, why haven't we enforced a homestead act, like Burrville, Smithfield, Lincoln, Cumberland, that you after you, a certain age, you live in a town, your taxes are lowered.
Yeah,
They all do, Smithfield does, and Burrville does, Lincoln does, and Cumberland does.
some cities and towns have homesteads, some don't. We don't currently. We have the senior exemption and the veteran exemption,
So do they.
but we would have to go to the legislation and have it, and we would have to look into it. We can't do it right this second, but
But I don't imagine you could, but it's something that I brought up before, and it should be considered.
But we also have to keep in mind that what we're looking at right now is a reduction in taxes for residential ratepayers. You know, in a tax levy that's under 2%, which statewide right now is a complete aberration. Most of them are going up significant. So we're a little bit of a unique situation here, and we don't have a power plant that's giving us millions of dollars a year either.
Hear you.
That was not a statement in support of the power plant project. It was prosed here. I'm just making reference to Burrville.
So when we see that come before us.
Foreshadowing. What does everybody feel about these options?
I like option 2.
Option 2,
Yeah, to bring everybody down, that bring the residential and the and commercial down equally.
I like option one because the residents got hit last time, and really, if we go with option one, the residential's going down 3.275, and the commercial is going down 3.49, so they're still getting a hefty decrease.
In one?
Yeah. Because with the water and sewer that we did, the water rates users, they're gonna get a pretty good increase, so at least this could try and help offset that a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm leaning more towards option one. With that being said, the 150% to the residential tax rate, like next year, after we do this same exercise, you know, dependent upon obviously how the budget goes and whatnot, we won't max that out, is what I'm saying, right?
I won't know that
Like, we
until I
can't
have
predict that.
values and a
That
budget.
if we're at 149 point whatever percent it is now, if we were to go with option one, with next year's budget, dependent upon, you know, obviously how that all pans out, we wouldn't max it out if we were to select option one. There would still be opportunity next year. I mean, we're speaking theoretically, but.
You just redo the process, you have your
Right.
4% levy, and then that, when you recalculate your 4% levy, that, whatever that residential rate is,
Mhm.
whichever one the council picks,
Right.
it'll reset at that commercial rate max. That commercial rate max
Right.
will reset essentially. So
Yeah. I just didn't want to pigeonhole us, right? If there's not a lot of movement with next year's budget and next year's levy, then are we pigeonholing ourselves by going with option one?
Right.
So I can say that the levy is probably gonna have new construction, but it's not a reval year, so we're
Assessment
not
will change.
gonna, yeah, the assessments will probably stay unless a lot of, like, there's new construction.
Mm-hmm.
Just so you know, it's not a reval year, so
Mm-hmm.
depending on what happens and the budget, that 150 could have,
Yeah. I'm still leaning
Play
towards
it.
option one, but just wanted that clarification.
Well, the reason I'm leaning towards option two is, our tangibles mostly come from, like you said, National Grid.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have, like Johnston has Amazon going in, but we don't have any of that. When
Yeah.
nobody's knocking down our door. So the message, we're sending a great message that we're fiscally responsible. But the other message that we should send to businesses is that we care about you. We care about businesses. We welcome businesses, and we're gonna take care of businesses. And that's how you bring business into town, when they're, should I go to this town or should I go to that town? You know what?
Mm-hmm.
Look at North Smithfield. They go, look at what they're doing. I'm gonna go to North Smithfield. And we have the room for expansion right now. And and in the future, hopefully 146 works out, and this could be a big boom. But it's all about sending a message.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that perspective, John. I think that's fair. That actually leads to a question, if there's opportunity to do a tangible assessment of our businesses in town to ensure that they are paying the appropriate amount of money in tangibles.
We do that already.
Okay.
Yeah.
and I'm not against businesses, but a lot of the small businesses fall under that $50,000
Right, exemption.
exemption. So I understand what you're saying, but they already get a pretty decent
And it's great that we
reduction.
have small businesses. They're the backbone of America, right? But we need more than just a small businesses coming into town. We can't
I agree.
always rely on National Grid, and we need somebody bigger coming into town, and that's how you lure them into town.
One little caveat to this, because I've opined on this issue for my whole career, especially for towns that all of a sudden decided to go in tax classification. And that is the problem with tangible taxes, notwithstanding the National Grid issue, because that's tangible, but it's not going anywhere. For most of tangible property, it can disappear overnight. It's not a stable tax base. The only thing that's stable is your residential investments and your commercial investments, buildings. What's in those buildings could disappear literally overnight. Manufacturing equipment is not taxed. So if you have somebody that happens to have a lot of content on tangibles, they could close their doors and move to Massachusetts tomorrow. I'm just hypothetical. and everything that you relied upon there is gone. And that's the one problem with tangible property taxes. It's just not a predictable tax base.
And don't the tangibles have to be reported by, is it December 31st, or is it
Yeah.
after, December 31st? Okay.
Well, no, it's January 31st. And
January.
if they file an extension, it's March 15th.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna make a motion to approve the option number 1 for real estate at $11 and 11.499, commercial at 16.936, and tangible at 43.632 for the FY 24-25 fiscal year.
Second.
So motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
No.
Mr. Christopherow.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Punchak.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Okay. It's good news.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Jen, do you have to be here for this second reading, or can we, like, move it down so we can do the, do you? Yeah.
I thought we had the second reading. Yeah.
Oh, so we're just signing it?
You
Approving
guys are
it?
having I think you guys are formalizing the public hearing,
Oh, it was the public
And
hearing.
then-
so we-
and then just
That's
signing
right, we
it.
did it.
And we didn't need the public hearing,
Right.
It was just a formality, yeah, so you guys are just signing it.
so we don't, there's nothing we have to do with it?
She's definitely not needed for it.
All right, so you're all set, thank you. All right, let's move up. Discussion by council vote or other action on review and approval of procurement schedule RFPQ for construction management at risk proposals evaluation, RUBIC for proposals and execution of ECC contract.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I do have some handouts because most of the stuff was electronic.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I'm putting together a quick little agenda just to kind of keep us on track while we're going through this.
Thank you.
First on the agenda is the milestone schedule, which is the page 2. Oh, I apologize, it's probably page 3. Might be out of order. That colorful little chart there. So we are in the process of the RFQ phase. ECC had sent over the draft copies of the RFQP, which is the request for qualifications and pricing. That's what the P is. So that was sent over the Friday before last, and that's why we requested this meeting tonight, so that we can get everyone to review this and either push it to a vote next week or get some votes tonight, whatever, we can discuss that. But so the final the idea is that after tonight, once we review some of these documents here, is to get the actual final package with some revisions. We're still reviewing it. There's some tweaks we have to make and some coordination. But we'd like to get that over to you midweek this week for final review. With that, you have your next town council meeting on the 7th, and that's where we'd like to maybe get that approved so we can move forward with it. This would go into advertising, so we want to advertise this in both the Boston Globe and Providence Journal, as well as BidNet. And we'll work with Tony to work through that. That first page there was the advertisement. It's, and Mr. St. Ange, it might be a little wordy for, we can take a run through this, we can
Yeah.
shrink this down a bit, but this is our kind of our standard. We can work through that. With that being advertised on July 10th, and then we would do a mandatory site walkthrough and briefing on Thursday the 17th. Deadlines for our RFIs or questions would be on a week later on the 24th of July. With any responses to those questions, any addenda needed from the architects on the following Friday, so August 1st. The packages would be due on August 22nd. And then we would move into the evaluation phase, which I'll kind of go through that in the next round here, but that's typically a 2-week process for the evaluations. And then we would ask, just to keep on schedule, that we have maybe another special meeting similar to this on September 8th to kind of go through that evaluation. And our recommendations for shortlist. We would then notify any shortlisted CMs, and I had to correct this, I apologize, on September 9th. And then we would start the interview process with that shortlisted construction management folks. And then we would finalize all the tabulations of the scoring and the evaluations of the price proposals for that same day, the 15th. And then that next town council meeting, which is scheduled, that's another special meeting on the 22nd of September. And that would be our recommendation for award for the CM. Any questions on, that's a lot of information. Any questions on the schedule?
Who is included in the site briefing?
So that will be the architect, obviously Chief Lafferty, as well as all the CMs, potentially some of their, actually maybe not their subs, but the CMs would be there, our ECC, and then anyone else that wants to partake in it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right, with that, like I said, there's a lot of dates here, and these dates may move, they'll get massaged as we go along.
One last question,
Yes.
sorry, regarding the milestone schedule. How far off is this schedule in comparison to the original one that was initially socialized?
Yep, so this is probably pushed out, probably another 2 weeks from the original push out.
Okay, so not
It's
radical.
not horrendous. I will have an updated schedule out to everyone. I'm gonna back these dates into our schedule and see where it really falls.
Okay,
But from the last time we published this, it's about 2 weeks off, because we're going into the CM doing like an estimated cost proposal, so that we have a baseline. Originally, the thought was that we'd go for qualifications, evaluate them, shortlist them, and we'd have their CM fees, so their construction management fees, but not their actual cost for the construction. So we've added that in there.
okay,
And it's moved it about 2 weeks.
okay, thank
Yep.
you.
Any other questions on the schedule?
Did Signal Works complete their package today?
It was being, by end of day today, so it should be done, but I haven't seen it come through yet, but, yep. And I'll confirm that. All right. And with that, so Signal Works documents are available end of day today, basically tomorrow morning. That gives us time to review those. So with this schedule, we have time to review it as the owner and OPMs. We have our MEP consultant that's also reviewing that as well. And then anything that comes out of that review would be part of the addenda that would be issued on August 1st. All right. As I had mentioned, Renee, if you could go to the next slide. My apologies, it was blurry. This is the newspaper article advertisement, and we'll work with Mr. St. Ange on craftiness, we want to go lower in content, but also we'll work with you to put together the bid net advertising.
Brian, one thing, from what
Yes.
I remember, in the RFQ, it indicated that the bids were not going to be opened publicly, correct?
Yes.
So do we want to make sure that that's noted in here?
That will be noted in
'Cause I
here.
saw it talks about interpreter services
Yep.
at the opening, so.
Yeah, that last piece there is a. We'll update that. Like I said, again, this is a draft, and this will all be coordinated with everything that's in the RFP as well, RFQ. All right, so again, that's going to two newspapers. We're not gonna do anything like local newspapers like we talked earlier. It's just gonna be Providence Journal and Boston Globe, as well as BidNet.
Did we say Valley Breeze? No?
No.
Basically, the argument was,
Although it's a local paper, it's not a conduit for what we're going for.
Yep. Okay. Any questions on the posting of this? Like I said, it goes into BidNet. BidNet manages who actually downloads it. So we have all the documentation. We also have here in that any questions will go to ECC. And that's Surab, that's our controls, our project controls manager. So he'll manage all that correspondence and get those questions to the appropriate team member to answer those. And then on August 1st, when the answers go out, that'll be issued as an addendum.
Brian, I just have one question.
Yep.
So we're saying Northfield Public Safety Complex. Should we be saying that? Because it's not really a safety complex, it's just the police station.
Yeah, that's how it was listed in the original RFQ for ECC. We can change that name to whatever we want to.
I would just make whatever
It aligns,
Signal Works
it
calls
aligns
it.
with Signal Works. That's
Okay.
how they named it on their drawings. That's how we,
I think that's what it was, because I asked that question
Yes,
before.
yep.
And I thought it was what Signal Works called
Okay.
it, so we just stuck with it.
I just don't want to mislead somebody that they're bidding on something that it's not, that's all. Like,
Yeah.
if someone just happens to look at it and say, you know, a safety complex is more than what somebody might be really
Yep.
able to do, and it's a smaller police station, that's
yeah, it's
all.
understandable. It can be kind of confusing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we aligned it with Signal Works. Obviously, the drawings were coming out today. So if we went and changed that, that could
Yeah,
add a little bit of
okay.
time.
That's fine, because they're gonna, obviously, when they bid on it, they're gonna see.
They're gonna be
everything,
there
right?
for the mandatory walkthrough, so they're gonna see what actually it is, so,
Okay.
yep. All right. The RFQ, I did not, we do have that in here. You know, it's a fairly long document. That should be number 3. That's the contract. That's, maybe it's number 4. Actually, no, that's it. If you can go up to the top of that. Looks like it's missing a page just now. There we go. So this document, this is the actual RFQ. So it's a 2-part. It's the qualifications package, the request for qualifications. Has all the dates listed here. I need to go through these one more time before I send this out officially and make sure it aligns with the schedule. I did that before, but I just want to do it one more time for QC. So the first phase of this is the qualifications. Second phase is the cost proposal, which is the end of this, which has schedules for that. The RFQ is the big piece that, actually all of it is the big piece that we're be scoring. And if you go down probably halfway through maybe. Should be right in the schedules maybe. Yeah, right there's good. So that's all the forms for their statement of qualifications. As that goes down, it goes into all their listings, and that's the stuff that we'll be looking at to actually evaluate when we get to the evaluation page. So everything after the kind of the body of the RFQ is what the stuff is, what we'll be evaluating. And at the very end, it's got some schedules to it. Yeah, right there. So these are all like similar projects, management profile, lawsuits against them, whatever, anything, any legal actions, and we'll go through all that. Yep. Great, so that's, and again, all these documents are up on our file share, and we can share that with everyone if you want to read through it. It does get a little wonky when you're online going through it. Sometimes you have to download them. If we do ask if you have any comments you want to make to it, and David's already kind of, Mr. Punchak has already gone through it. We've caught his comments. If anyone does want to make any comments to these, just do it in the comments section. So it's not in the body of text, so we can make sure we catch it and accept those comments. All right. Any questions on the RFQ or proposal?
I think so.
All right. The last piece, and it's kind of the biggest piece I wanted to talk about tonight, was the evaluations. So we're here tonight going through this. You guys have some time to digest this. If we vote on it next week, that it's approved once it's finalized. One of the things we really want to talk about is, will the entire town council be part of the evaluation team? A lot of times we have a subcommittee that does that, and kind of does it offline from the town council meetings or school board meetings, whatever project it is. Sometimes we have 4 to 6 people doing that, usually always the architects, someone from the OPM company, and then a few folks from the town. That's one thing I wanted to talk about tonight was, we can do it either way. I mean, it's a small enough town council board that we can manage it, but I know your time is very important, and where you guys meet every 2 weeks, I don't want to keep throwing on special meetings, so just want to get your thoughts on that.
Just for clarification, of course, the town council knows this, but there can't be more than 2 town council people involved.
Okay.
Because if there's more than 2, it's a public meeting anyways.
Public meeting.
But you can do 2 if you did a subcommittee, it's
Yep.
2 from the town council and others, but
Yep.
just
Yep.
for your own information.
Yeah, and just as an example, other projects that we have going on, it's 2 from a school board meeting, same thing, because and then the OPM, the architects, and you can also bring other people in too, but that's not on the council.
Yeah, so as we were talking on the call today, if we're gonna bring everything to the town council and the town council vote as a whole, or if we wanna continue with the we call it a subcommittee, with the subcommittee, and they basically vote on different things and then bring it to the council, kind of like how the MBRTF was, and then they would come back to the council and the council would vote on or hear what the committee was suggesting. So we just wanted to get everyone's thought on how to move forward, just so that way we know about the extra meetings and how often that Brian would either have to come back to the council, or if we bring to the council and then have discussion then, and then take a roll call, and kind of like how it worked before. So that was kind of trying to get everyone's feedback today on that.
I mean, personally, I wouldn't want us to contribute to delays, so I know that we would have to schedule special meetings in order to review and vote collectively. I trust the work that you and David are currently doing to support this, and I would nominate you both for the subcommittee if you're so willing. But I think the subcommittee is probably the more expedited way to go about it.
Right now, it's the administrator. Usually the planner attends, right? Usually the
Yep.
chief, right?
Yep.
Myself, Brian,
Signal Works.
Signal Works, ECC.
And David?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty much it on the calls, right?
Correct.
And then obviously if we need to bring Tony in, if he wants to sit in on it too as, but that I guess would pretty much be the subcommittee. That would meet, right now we're doing weekly calls, and going over everything, and then, so right now we stop and we say we go to the council, but if not, then we could all meet as we do on weekly, and then if we needed to make a decision, then we could come back to the council and just report out what was done, so that's your feedback. Claire, do you have anything
No.
you have any feelings about that?
No. I think whatever you put forth is good.
John, what do you
I
think?
tend to agree with Rebecca.
It's just so we don't continue to have
Exactly.
setbacks and stuff,
Yeah.
okay.
I would personally like to see the responses when we receive them.
Absolutely,
Oh,
Oh, absolutely,
yeah, so
And-
we can still send the packet.
absolutely.
And they can review it, and then we can, because then that way, if you have any questions about any of the discussion we had, then we could answer those, you know, because we're still gonna need a vote from the majority to go forward on
Okay.
whoever we selected, but at least we could kind of work those things out prior to coming, instead of sitting here at, like, and spend a couple hours going through each individual vendor, and
Yep,
and then maybe, you know, we can have a quick vote and you guys are on your way.
yep.
Yeah, no, you guys, everything would still be given to the council, it's just not having to wait to go to that
Right.
council meeting.
Okay.
Should we do a vote on that? What do you think? Yeah, right?
I think you should take a vote on that.
Yeah.
I'm not the solicitor, but I think it makes sense.
Well, if you want to play the role tonight.
No, I don't. My pay, his pay scale's much higher than mine.
All right, I'm just gonna make a vote that, that the subcommittee for the police station / public safety renovation project, will be able to make decisions during weekly meetings and then bring back to council for final approval.
Second.
That's a motion. A second. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Mr. Christopherow.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Punchak.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Okay, so that answers one of the questions we had.
Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent, that's fantastic. Thank you all. All right, the last piece of this is, or one of the last pieces, is the evaluation forms. These are examples. These are not customized yet for this project. But it's just a sample of what that subcommittee would be evaluating on both the qualifications and the cost proposals. And the first 3 pages is basically where you kind of rate them on their qualifications and their, or the evaluations. And the last 2 pages, and I apologize, this is a PDF, so I couldn't get rid of the other school that we borrowed this from, or the school we borrowed from. But this actually is the totals of all those. So you can see for this one, we had, 80 evaluators with 3 companies submitting. Obviously, this would be adjusted to however what the final number of evaluators are and the number of companies. And the last page of that is just an example of the cost proposal evaluation. And totaling up all of it. That's right, that's the CM's cost proposal. The proposal for the actual construction is the number, so. Any questions on the evaluation form? Excellent. And the last piece of that, which falls towards the end of all the evaluations, is the interviews. Again, question out to everyone. Right now, we have that as an interview period at a town council meeting, but with that subcommittee, that can just be part of that. Correct?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Right, yes.
All right. So then, for the, going forward, we would have the final RFP and, RFQ and P for your review for next meeting on the 7th. And then we'd come back for that recommended special meeting, on the 22nd of September with our recommendations from the subcommittee.
Do we want to talk about that? John, Rebecca, and Claire, how do you feel about if they've got some revisions to be made to the document as is? I've looked at it, Kim, I think, has looked at it, the town administrator has looked at it. If we don't want to have another meeting, do we want to, get the housekeeping done in that document and give them the go-ahead to
Yeah.
issue it on Monday?
Streamline it.
Yeah, okay.
Good word.
Yeah, we just
That's
don't wanna
great.
take anything away
Yeah.
from the council, but yet we still wanna keep things moving, and with enough different people in different capacities on the committee,
Mhm.
Yep.
Trust that it's all being accounted for.
Okay.
Yeah, and the modifications to this are really minor. But
I
saving
have a
those,
couple comments on the evaluation and then some other things.
Okay.
I'll give those to you, but
yeah, and that's, like I said, that's a draft, and that's still in the works, but we'll have that nailed down, and we can actually, maybe that's a topic for one of our next meeting, weekly meeting. Or prior to, actually, we'll do that prior to, because we want to get this done. But yeah, we can send this out, and it's going to be available for everyone to look at, and if we don't need to do another approval next week, that's great, that could save us a couple more days.
Okay. Okay.
you want to make a motion for that? May as well, right?
Yeah, just
In the
so we
mood.
have it, yeah.
So I will make a motion to allow the subcommittee to approve the final RFQP document prior to issuance or publication in the Providence Journal and Boston Globe.
Second.
That's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Mr. Christopherow.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Punchak.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes.
Brian, a quick question as relates to the advertisement side of this. For what period should the ad run in like the Boston Globe, since it's a very expensive?
So it has to run for 2 weeks
Okay, is that every day or?
prior to, I'll have to check into that, I don't know if, Mrs. Sinaj, if you know that. I know it's 2 weeks.
Yeah, the minimum advertising has to be 2 weeks, but in terms of how often it posts, that's up to anybody,
Okay.
really.
So guidance from your group would
Yep.
be helpful in
So we
that
can definitely
regard.
work on that,
Yeah.
yep. Yeah.
How does BidNet tie into that? Because once it's on BidNet, it's
up
it's
until,
out there.
yeah, it's up until the close date
Yeah.
that we determine.
So it's
But Boston Globe is, they have a daily newspaper, and that cost Boston Globe isn't cheap. I don't know how much it is. Yeah, I've already sent in an inquiry to them, but I don't know, that's not gonna be cheap to post daily.
Yeah.
Same thing with Providence Journal. We had to do two of them for the fire and police, and they were very small, and they're not, like I said, they're not cheap.
My gut feel is on this, unless, of course, your team feels otherwise, finding the best day of the week
Yep,
for the Boston Globe and do it once each week, because it's on BidNet too.
right.
It's not going to fall through the cracks.
And I'm sure as soon as it hits the paper, it hits the website, so if someone's gonna see it.
Absolutely, it's going to
Yes.
get passed around.
Yep. All right, yes, we'll look into like what that best day of advertising is.
So what is BidNet? Is that just a municipality thing? or-
It's mainly for, it's a purchasing group.
Okay,
It's free. A lot of municipalities use it across the United States. Its biggest strength that I've seen is every solicitation that goes on there has categories that you put them into, and there's hundreds of categories. What I will do is I'll go into other bids that have been posted on there, find ones that are similar, use those categories. What happens is vendors will make an account on here, they'll assign themselves categories that they're
Okay.
related to, and then once you make the bid, you assign those categories to your bid, and then it'll hit all of those vendors. It'll send a notification to them. And you can also send them to specific vendors that you want to, that you have points of contact for. But that's the biggest strength behind it. A lot of the purchasing groups, but this one specifically.
Is this in addition to or in replace of the state procurement site? Because a lot of
You're talking about,
municipalities, state,
MPA?
yeah, they post RFPs on the state procurement
It's an
site.
I think it's an addition to.
It's an
right?
I was
addition
saying
to.
so, and that's free, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in Massachusetts, they do central register and then like combis, which is similar to BidNet.
Yeah. This is the one that, the procurement group for Rhode Island, there's like almost like the assessors, the collectors. This is one of the ones that the group had suggested the most.
Yeah, it's widely used by a lot of the companies in town. Yep.
And it's a free service?
Yeah,
Yep.
which is great. Yeah.
Yeah, because they probably make their revenue by trying to sell documents to bidders.
I honestly have no idea how they make their money, but
An advertisement.
they work.
Okay, great.
Excellent. That was the end of my questions. I think you guys answered everything and appreciate the help on pushing it through. Yeah.
So I guess
Any
where
questions?
we stand for Monday's meeting, so now we just need any changes to be updated, right?
Yep.
And that's it?
Yep.
Okay. So we can do that prior to a call on Monday, or on our
Yeah,
call
so
on Monday?
we're planning on having everything out by like the 2nd, so Wednesday.
Okay,
So we'll work on it tomorrow on Wednesday, have it up by close of business on Wednesday, so everyone has it.
okay.
It'll probably go out the same way with the file share, because it's, a lot of documents.
So I guess it's safe to say that we don't need to have a meeting on this on Monday, because if we're gonna be voting on it, or not voting on it, but see any changes that need to be made and give them to you prior to Monday, it's safe to say then we don't need to have it on an agenda on Monday.
Yeah? No.
Okay. Okay, that answers that. All right. Okay, perfect.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
All right, discussion by council vote or other action on amendment to Code of Ordinance, Chapter 301, Taxation, Article 3, Tax Classification System, Section 301-18, Tax Classification Duties of Assessor. So we do not have to have a public hearing on this, and we've already had a second reading. So this is approved then, or do we need to have a
I think maybe
vote on it?
maybe a vote and then signatures, yeah.
Okay,
I think a formal vote.
Yeah.
okay. Would anyone like to make a motion on this Section 301-18 tax classification?
I thought we approved this last week.
I
because
think we did,
Yeah,
but-
we went back and forth about the public hearing. I think I made the motion after Jen read it. Then there was the discussion about the public hearing. David determined that we didn't need it, and I thought that we approved this last week.
Maybe, I have no idea.
Do it
So maybe we should just make a
safety
motion to do it
desires.
again, yeah. Yeah. Anyone like to make a motion?
Rebecca does, I think.
I'm chomping at the bit over here. I will make a motion to approve the amendment to the Code of Ordinance, Chapter 301, Taxation, Article 3, Tax Classification System, Section 301-18, Tax Classification Duties of Assessor.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. And basically, the only change on this is the underline be set by assessor as required by state law. Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Mr. Christopherow.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Punchak.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. All right. Anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.